Hey everyone, welcome back to the Product Pivot. I'm Santi with my incredible co-host Megan. To give a little recap of what this podcast is all about, we share real stories from amazing folks in the product space, their journey of how they got into product, and some actionable insights. Today we are very excited to have Aaron on the podcast, and I'm going to flip it over to him so he can give an introduction.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Santi. Yeah. So I'm Aaron. I'm a product manager. I've been in product management for, I guess, 12-ish years. So I'm starting a new role in the AI space. In the past, I've been a product manager in AI. I just left a company called SnapLogic, where I was leading their AI product management. Two of the most successful launches of SnapLogic's history under my belt. So that's awesome. And now I'm VP of product at a company called Rosie AI.
That's awesome. Congratulations. We didn't know that. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, that's really exciting. It's wonderful to hear about your new role. I'm really excited to kind of follow your journey as you start there, but kind of like looking back at your journey. So talking like way back when, can you share a little bit about your journey into product?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I started a company when I was in college with my roommate. And we were just going around to local businesses and interviewing them and figuring out what problems they had. Mainly, we started it because we were just incredibly bored with our coursework, and like we were like, there's no like actual application for any of this stuff. So like maybe we could go and figure out if other businesses need like computer science people. I don't know. So we went over and we got connected with a business called Carvertise. And so they were one of our first contracts. And so we essentially built an entire analytics platform for them. And they were looking to sort of track drivers and figure out like what types of impressions that their drivers were getting. They were putting advertisements on the cars. And so we built an entire analytics platform for them. That sort of led me into like sort of trying to figure out like I do actually really like interviewing customers and figuring out like what their problems are, but I really hate doing the development. Shortly after we graduated, Carvertise actually acquired our company, and so I was then just solely doing a lot of the development, and I absolutely, again, I absolutely hated it. So I left my job. I moved down to Raleigh, North Carolina with no job lined up, and I just went over to Starbucks, as you do, right? And then yeah, so I stayed with Starbucks for about a year, and Starbucks was actually possibly one of the best jobs that I've ever had. I learned so much about customer interaction and keeping customers happy and like really connecting with them on a more personal level, and so a lot of my mentors were my regulars there, and so they were sort of like, oh, whoa, you're technical, like could you help us on your 10-minute breaks on like our WordPress websites and stuff like that. And it was an amazing experience. And my regulars actually led me to my next job in technical support management at a company called Top Quadrant, and they were in the data governance space. And then their product manager left after 3 months, and I was already talking to a lot of their customers and figuring out how do we scale these things up beyond just one-off support requests. And that's really when I dove into product management. I took over the role there, and then I went over to Blue Cross, where I was a product manager there, and then SnapLogic doing AI product management, and so now I'm a VP of product. It's crazy.
That story, I remember when I heard it for the first time when we were chatting, and I just sat there afterwards, and I think Meg, I think I might have messaged you right away, and I was like, "This is one of the coolest stories! What a pivot! We have to have him on the pod!" And I was so stoked about it because it solidified so many things for me and things that we've been hearing on the pod and in the industry. For one, just pivots happen in any way, shape, or form. Like you can come from anywhere and pivot in. That's why we have this podcast. For two, just the power of networking and how it literally can
Yes.
happen anywhere. Like anywhere. Your story just spoke so loudly to me because I'm like, see folks, like it can be in the simplest of ways. It can be in these really cool, like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, like areas of opportunity, I guess, where you wouldn't even think it would happen. Like really, really amazing. And to go from like a background in development and now a VP of product, just love that. Love that whole story. And
Thank you.
I do have a question for you as well on that. When it comes to PMs wanting to enter the AI space, what skills do you think matter most for them?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the skills that are required for AI are just sort of a lot of the traditional product management skills, right? Figuring out what your customers' problems are, focusing on, what are your customers' pain points, and then what are the really, really mundane things that they're doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, right? That's what AI is perfect for automating, right? Let's escape from the whole buzzwords and like the all this technology and getting into the weeds of it, right? Like, of course, like as PMs, we do want to get into the weeds. We want to understand the technology and how it works. But at the end of the day, we're solving human problems for human people. So like, that's what we need to be focused on, right? So that's how you get into AI product management.
I think that's so true. Like coming from like a company that used AI, it was really just about like what made their job easier and faster. That was really the main selling points for it. And I think that if you can do that in your product, you're winning. End of
Exactly.
story. So
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And I think, a lot of the AI stuff it's just so hyped up because we have all these executives now who are saying we need AI and it doesn't matter what AI you get, we just need it, right? But it's like at the end of the day, the people who are getting that message, ultimately what they want is something that adds value to them, not necessarily just to get AI just to have it, right?
Yeah, for
Yes.
sure.
Yes, 100%. I was actually chatting with my friend. She's a head of product. And she was saying one day, she was like, yeah, my boss wants to like implement AI, but I'm like, all right, cool, I love AI. What problem is it solving right now? And just asking
Yes.
that one question can be so telling because I'm all for AI, right? I love it. I co-lead a council for it. Like I am all in. But at the end of the day, it needs to actually solve problems or have some sort of positive outcome or impact for what you're trying to do. You can't just have it just to have it because then you're not really like learning anything along the way, except maybe what not to do in some cases.
Exactly. Exactly. And there are so many companies now that are just starting up that like probably won't be around too long because they're solely harping on we have AI. And it's like, let's get beyond AI. Like what are you doing for me, right?
It's true.
Mhm.
Do you
Yeah.
think this is totally not a question that we prepped, but I'm just going to ask anyway. Do you think that like companies that are building products that are AI focused without considering like we were talking about like saving time, making jobs faster, do you think like those products that are like, "Oh, I just want to build something with AI," are just going to fail faster?
Yes, definitely. I mean, and the reason why I think this is because I mean, if you look at, I mean, right, vibe coding now is like all the rage, right? So like, and I absolutely hate this term. I hate it. Like, it's the worst buzzword I've ever heard in my entire life. But it's still, I mean, it's still valuable, right? Like, it's an incredibly like once you get beyond the buzz, it's an incredibly valuable skill set to have, right? And so I think that's where the future of product management, engineering, design, that is where we're headed, right? But what vibe coding really enables, right, is now I can build full products by just typing into a computer, right? I don't even need a technical background. So like these products that are these one-offs or whatever, like you have to be so terrified that somebody like in sales or in finance is just going to be like, like I have this Excel spreadsheet, like build me an entire web application that I no longer need this spreadsheet.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with vibe coding. We were actually going to ask you about that like spontaneously at the end of this episode, like what
Oh,
your
okay.
thoughts are on vibe coding because like I'm obsessed with it. I think it's so much fun, but
Oh
I
yeah.
also think that there is like times when you're vibe coding. So let's take Lovable as an example. I think like you can implement technical pieces of vibe coding by using their dev mode or going into the code base in GitHub and actually utilizing it. I think that's fun. I think it's a good opportunity for a PM to get their hands technical if they want to and don't have to just like chat into the bot. So I think it's fun. I'm having like really good experiences trying different vibe coding tools like Replit or Lovable. I haven't tried Bolt yet, but I think it's fun. I mean, it's good to hear that you said like you hate that term, but I think it's fun. But I know Santi, you've used those two tools as well. So I think that you kind of enjoyed a little bit of dipping your toe in.
I have used Bolt a little bit. I prefer some other ones over Bolt, personally, but I've also noticed just like me tinkering with these tools has had a direct impact on like my job, even in prod ops. it opened up a lot of new ways for me to think about how to achieve things. So it's been a really beautiful blend of like my PM background, 'cause I'm a PM person through and through, right? Like that's just me. But also this ops background and like how to marry these two things together, use tools that I would not have had access to years ago, and start creating solutions that are actually going to benefit quite literally my entire team. I see, yeah, the word and like the whole buzz around it can be really annoying. LinkedIn can be annoying. But I love it. I definitely recommend people try it because again, it just opens up new ways of thinking and like how you can achieve tasks that you maybe thought you couldn't, you just had to suck it up and do manually. So on that theme, what else inspires you about AI? Or how, I guess maybe, let me read that question again. I might have said that wrong. What was it? It was, no, I was right. What inspires you about AI?
Yeah, I mean, what inspires me about AI, I guess, is just where, like, how fast things are moving. And there's just this constant, I've been asked a lot, like, how do you keep up on AI, right? And it's like, okay, like, I have a bunch of like resources to keep up on it, like newsletters I follow and all this stuff. But like, what really inspires me about AI is just how quickly the field is moving and how exciting of a time this is to just be experimenting and being encouraged to experiment, right? Like, I feel like in the past, like a lot of teams have sort of been kind of conservative about how they experiment, and now AI has just been like, well, let's just throw that into ChatGPT and see what it spits out, right? Like that is an incredible thing that we have adopted now as a society and as businesses, right? So that, I think that's what inspires me the most about AI is just the encouragement to just go on and experiment and do whatever you want type of thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I've seen like people that have been blocked by their leadership from using AI because their
Mm-hmm.
company culture doesn't support it. And then I've personally worked under leadership that does support it. And I think that having the go ahead from your leadership to support using AI and someone that uses AI themselves and is like, look what I did today, maybe you should try something like that too, really encourages like this culture of like try new things with AI. And I think that that is just like such an incredible experience to be working with people that also are inspired by AI and how much it's changing. And I think that that's been a really positive experience to me as like a PM or just like a worker in today's society, right? Because I imagine not being able to use tools like that in your day to day while everyone else out there is using them can probably feel a little outcasty. So I think that that's been like game changing for me. And I know Santa, your company really encourages the use of AI as well, which is incredible.
Oh yeah, 100%. They're really good about it too. Like they have some really good initiatives. Again, like I said, the council's one of them. There's ways that teams are implementing it in their workflows that make sense for their context. And we shared knowledge on tools and like workflows and things, and it's honestly incredible. So I fully believe that the companies that at least explore it and see how it can work for them are doing the right thing.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I like, I think that the companies that are shying away from it or are afraid of it, I mean, like ultimately nobody wants to be the next blockbuster, right? Like, but like I feel like if you're not experimenting with this stuff, like you're gonna get left behind so quick. Like you have to put in some policies in place that encourages the experimentation. And I mean, the like I wrote a newsletter about this like a couple weeks ago from the CEO of Shopify, right? Like he put together a whole memo on why you need to be using AI, and if you're not using AI, like you need to have a really good reason for not using it. And what really stuck out to me is like we aren't hiring anybody else unless you can prove that their job can't be done without AI, right? Like that
Yeah.
that's incredibly powerful.
I think I remember seeing that. I think that that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
that's so
that came
incredible.
that
And
came out of
Santi, just like that on that theme, can you share a little bit about how you're using AI in the absence of a designer?
Yeah, so one of the ways
Whoa.
that's a good question. So one of the ways I actually started using AI before I even realized I was using AI. So at my last company, for example, I was product manager, designer, a little bit of product marketing, startups, right? Cool. But one of the tools that I was using was called Visly. Shout out to Visly because they're awesome. And what it would allow me to do is take a screenshot of my app, and it would use AI to convert it into the components that I needed to edit right on the screen and look just like the app or close to, and I could use it to design things that I needed to. So that was kind of like my early use of AI without even knowing I was using AI. And it was tremendous in helping me get those mock-ups to my dev team and being like, hey, here's what I'm thinking, here's what I'm envisioning. It would allow me to write requirements and have screenshots right in place, like this is how it should look, this is how it should function, et cetera, et cetera. In terms of like what the flow would be, of course, like working with engineers and stuff. And that was my first real exposure into how it's helped me with design. Meg, I'm going to flip the question back over to you now because I know you had some really recent experiences with it and how you were using it. Mine's probably not as cool. I just wanted to share that because it was one of the ways that it actually just helped me immensely. And now it's even better using these tools because there's so much more you can do with the design stuff. So I'll flip it over to you though, because you have even more recent experience.
I think mine was pretty similar, but I was using more tools like Cursor.
Yeah.
And that was very similar, but it was more writing out like what my expectations were for like a feature, and then sharing concepts of what our app currently looked like, and then what our branding was like, and then trying to spit out designs. The reason I was doing that is that my past org, our designer was a graphic designer as well as a UI UX designer. And so timelines were very, very slow in getting design pushed out. And so it was allowing me to, I'm not a creative person. It's just not in my wheelhouse. I'm analytical. I'm very like direction to the point, not creative at all. And the way it bridged the gap for me was allowing me to see something visually, and then I could take that to Figma and just like outline something, and then it could go to my designer and she could quickly just like clean it up. And so I think it just kind of allowed me to visually create something that previously I wasn't able to create because I just can't create from nothing. It's just not where my brain goes. So I think that's the kind of the way that I've used it to kind of bridge just a little bit of a creative gap that I have as a product manager.
I love that you touched on that too, because for me, it was like I had the vision in my head and needed to quickly get it out of my head. Overall, like, and play with it a little bit. And for you, you were able to bridge that gap from like, because you're like a powerhouse, like analytical type of person, but different. Wow, yeah, very different use cases and very similar use cases all at the same time. I like that. Ooh, look at us
I
go.
also love that you're essentially, I mean, you're freeing up those resources, right? So that you no longer have to really wait on them. You could sort of start to create some type of mock-up or do something that you ultimately wouldn't have done otherwise, right? And so, I love that. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
power of AI.
yeah.
Speaking to that theme, actually, Meg, I'm glad you brought this up. And if there's folks that are PMs and they're looking to get more into AI, let's say they weren't able to use it now, they're like, okay, we got the green light, we can go ahead and start using AI. What are some things that you recommend they do to start using it in their day-to-day, their workflows, et cetera? What are some pro tips from Aaron, the AI master?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I tell people is just to, I mean, get started with ChatGPT if you haven't, right? Like just go to ChatGPT, create an account, log in, and just start chatting with it like the way we chat, right? Just start talking to it, and you know, you'll start to realize all the different things that it can do. And by talking and going on LinkedIn, especially too, like so many people share tips on like what they're prompting ChatGPT with, right? Like I've generated entire PowerPoint presentation. Like I don't even actually create PowerPoint presentations anymore. I just have ChatGPT iterate with me, and then like it actually gives me the code, and I just put it into Google Apps Script, and it generates me the presentation. And then I actually just tinker with it and figure it out from there. But that's what I would say. And then focus on again, like focus on the mundane things that you're doing on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, especially the stuff that you absolutely hate doing, and figure out, can AI do it, right? Or can AI do 80% of it, right? Because ultimately, right, like I'm looking forward to the day that AI becomes boring. Like AI is like this hot thing, but like ultimately it's really good at doing boring things. So like we should just let it do boring stuff for us. And like then it becomes boring, right?
That is so cool. I actually like that. I like that frame of mind because it's like, yeah, let it get to that point and that's okay. Like that's okay
Yeah,
for it to get to that point.
exactly. It should be boring.
I'm just waiting for the day that like is like always with us, always doing things with us. It's like always on the shoulder, and like if you go to do something, it's like, oh, I can do that for you.
Yeah.
I
Me as
want
I'm at my
that
kitchen
day.
sink.
I want
Like
a
these
robot in my
dishes.
house to do my dishes. I want it all.
I like open up my laundry room, I look at my robot and I'm like, get in there.
Get in
Yeah.
there.
What are you doing here? Like, get in on my laundry. What's going on?
Oh my God. That was like, it's so funny when when they started seeing like the robots that are being created and stuff like that. My dad, he's 61, and I definitely like, it's a wildly different age group. And my dad's like, why are they building robots? I was like, I don't know, but I want one. Like, give me the robot. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to do my dishes. I don't want to clean my floors. I don't want to do my laundry. Get that robot in my house.
Yes. Sign me up.
I
Sign me
just
up.
thought of a good business model. It can be called RAS, Robots as a Service, and you pay a monthly
Ooh.
subscription for these robots, and if you don't pay, they walk out to your house.
The entrepreneur is here.
The genius in this room is just suffocating.
Oh my gosh. I can picture that so well. Just like you don't pay them and they're just like, I'm done with this. I'm done. Like,
Right?
I'm not doing your dishes no more.
They just drop the plate, it shatters, like, oh, you didn't pay, I can't clean that up. They're out.
It can be like those scanners with your credit card. It'd be like, please add your credit card to it. Just like, no scan, I'm leaving. Well, I know that we talked a lot about AI, and I'm sure this is still AI focused, but I want to make sure we talk about your book that you shared a little bit about in our intro call.
Totally. Yeah. Actually, I wrote the book over COVID. Things slowed down a lot at the company that I was currently at. And, I kept going to my boss and being like, what should I be working on? What should I do? Like, and my boss was like, just sit tight. And I was like, what does that mean? Just sit tight. So I was like, well, I have to do something productive. So I was like, I may as well, like, I've mentored a couple folks into product management and getting, taking that pivot, like, what y'all do. And so both of them, what I realized, both of them asked me the same exact questions. And I was like, rather than explain this a third time, I'll just write it down, especially since I have the time. So yeah, as you do, I wrote a book on it, and I'm what I call agilely releasing it because I interviewed a lot of authors. And what they told me was like, you really need to grow an audience. You need to grow a following. Where's your audience? And back then I had zero. Like I was like, I don't like they're nowhere. Like they're out there somewhere. So yeah, I spent a lot of time growing the audience and trying to figure out how to grow the audience. But yeah, so the book is all about how to, make the shift into product management, especially if you have a technical background. And so let me see. So yeah, I mean, it goes over, essentially my entire journey and all the pitfalls that I made on that journey. I give a lot of tips on like, how to spruce up your resume and then also how important mentorship is. And, if you don't have mentors, I teach you how to essentially find mentors and, give you templates for like, the LinkedIn cold outreach, right? Of like, hey, like you seem like an interesting person. That's actually how I did it. I just reached out to a bunch of people on LinkedIn. And, what I also found was that product people are some of the most welcoming and warm people. So, they always respond, almost always. They always respond. So yeah, the book is a lot about how to make that shift into product management and don't fail in the way that I failed.
And is
That's gonna be
it more
fire.
focused for the dev community or like people coming out of like software engineering wanting to pivot into product, or is it really for anyone?
I would say it's really for anyone. I mean, I do focus a little bit on the technical side, but like it's not, really it's how to structure your mindset to be a good PM from whatever role that you had before, right? Being customer obsessed, really figuring out how to interview customers and like find what their root problems are and not just, the surface level thing that they come to you with. That's also what I found with a lot of more junior PMs who were making this break is like, they would essentially come to me and be like, hey, the customer asked for this. And it's like, but why? Right? Like, and they never went deeper than that, right? They never went deeper than the surface level, like customer wants button here, right? And it's like, what is that actually solving for them though, right? So
I'm guilty.
we all are. I mean, we all are.
My earlier PM Santy's cringing. It's good questions, though. It's good questions. Yeah, I'm very excited for this book, honestly. I just know you would have put so much heart and soul into it, and I think it's going to bless many, many people.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
So when you said you're agile or releasing it, so you have not technically released it yet?
Yeah, so I've released up to chapter 4, and I'm
Okay.
doing sort of a chapter at a time, trying to get feedback on it, and then as I get feedback on what's been written, then I release a new chapter and edit what's there. So it's on a website called LeanPub, and actually LeanPub was one of the platforms that actually the Lean Startup started on, and so they were one of the first books on LeanPub. Teresa Torres actually wrote her entire book, Continuous Discovery Habits, on LeanPub. So it's a platform for us agile folks to sort of get rapid feedback and iterate before we actually release a final product. So I'm trying to follow my own principles, I guess.
Yeah,
100%.
totally.
Everything's a product.
Exactly, everything's a product.
Well, we'd love to link it for
Yeah,
any listeners here when it comes time for us to release. We're planning on releasing this episode in like June, but we'd love to link it for people. That way they can take a look if that's okay with you.
oh, definitely. Yeah, I would love that. I would love that.
Awesome. Well, that's all of our questions, but we always give time for the guests that we're having to share anything that you may want to share that we haven't covered. So the floor is yours, Aaron.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't know what else I should. What else should I share?
Is there maybe anything you would recommend right now in today's day and age for people trying to pivot into product that they should do?
I would say for people who are trying to pivot into product management right now, especially if you haven't had the product management title, right? It's becoming harder and harder to pivot into product management without the title. And so I don't know. This is terrible advice, but I do give this advice in my book, and it's advice that I've followed throughout my entire career. One of my mentors actually at Starbucks said this, right? If you're doing the role, if you're playing the part, right, you deserve the title, right? And just because a company is not going to give you that title, or you haven't gotten that title in the past, if you with 100% confidence can say, I've been a product manager at this company, give yourself the title and put it on your resume, because that will open doors for you. And yes, sure, it's a little bit of a white lie, but at the same time, the company really just wants to know that you can do the part, right? And so if you don't put yourself out there and market yourself, because that's ultimately what a resume is. It's a marketing document, right? Like, it is your personal marketing document. And so, I would say give yourself the title, and don't worry about it.
That's great
Also,
advice.
say to that too, like if someone, so for the record, I'm not endorsing lying, people, but I would say for the record though, like if people are actually doing that role at the time they're at that company, I would also be advocating for them to go to their manager and be like, look, here's what I'm doing. Here, I've done this too. Like, here's what I'm doing. Here's how it aligns with this role that I want to be doing. I'm already doing it. Can we just negotiate like a title change? Like, can we just talk about having my actual title be representative of what the work I'm actually doing is,
100%.
right? Because that can be so hard to convey without, like, you could have like this title on your resume of what you're doing, and then the whole description would be, oh, that's actually a PM. So like, yeah, I would, even before you hit the resume stage, I'd say to people like, have some conversations, like talk to your manager and encourage that. You don't have to necessarily ask for more money. You don't have to, just say, I would like to have a title change reflect the work that I'm actively doing right now, because here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm achieving, here's how I'm seeing this going. And just be, again, like, advocate for yourself, because there's some folks that might not feel comfortable doing that. But if you're already doing the work and it's producing the results that typically fall within this category, then yeah, advocate for yourself. Say, hey, I want a title
Totally.
change.
Yes. That's fantastic advice. And yeah, of course, try to get the title internally, of course. And yeah, I mean, nobody's going to advocate for you like you advocate for yourself. And so you have to do it. Like, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to have those conversations with your manager and with your boss, but like, ultimately, like, you yourself and your career are the most important things to you, right? And we have to take ownership of that.
Agree. And I completely agree with both of you. Both your points. And Santi, I totally agree with your point. I just want to say this before I make this comment. But I also just want to flag that in my personal experience, asking for title changes that reflect something different than what they want to give you sometimes can signal that you're trying to leave. And so that is something that I would just say with the listeners to be wary of. Make sure your relationships are strong. Make sure your work is strong before you're asking for title changes. You don't want to be underperforming or it signaling somewhere that you're on your way out and then you're like, oh, can we change my title? Because that might signal like you're trying to look for work elsewhere. I've personally had people in my network experience that, and then it almost goes negative for them. But totally agree with both of your points. So just want to just say that, but add that little blurb in there because I've seen that happen to people. So just
no, it's a good thing to raise too, right? Because in my personal experience, I've always had really good relationships with my manager, so I've always communicated kind of like the longer term goal, and they'd ask too. They'd be like, "Where do you see like what's interesting you?" Things like that. So for me, it wouldn't have been as weird to say like, hey, I want to kind of move into this role, this title, et cetera, et cetera. But I can totally see your point of like folks that might just come out of the left field with it. So that's to tie this all into one bow. I would say that's why I'm always such a huge advocate for people to have these open and honest conversations over over the course of their tenure at whatever company they're at with their manager. Just have that discourse with them if they can. I know some places aren't as open to some of that, but like just be honest, be upfront, be like, hey, I'm really liking this. I'd love to maybe explore how these skills could benefit this type of role, or I'd love to explore this type of work a little bit more, and just have that discourse, because then it does help in the long term where it's like, yeah, you do want to eventually get to this type of title or this type of position. But again, like you said, Meg, good point on not having it like come totally out of pocket either, because then like it can raise flags. So love these different perspectives, and I think our listeners, for the most part, would probably be able to tell where they're at, right? Because like I said, I've always had those good relationships with my managers where they're like they're not surprised, but I'm like, hey, I want to try this thing. And then for folks that maybe haven't done that in the past, maybe this is a good reminder for them to be like, yeah, maybe I should start talking more about like my next steps with my future. And maybe it really is truly within that company and they see themselves there for a long time and want to explore some different paths.
totally.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And I really like what you said there is just like, this is not just like a one-off conversation, right? It takes time, right? Build up the relationship with your manager. I mean, yeah, if you're in bad standing right now, like this is not the time to ask for a title change. But like, take time, be patient, like, don't just go in and be like, I need this now, right? Like, have the conversation with your manager and even just broach the subject, right? Like broach it like, hey, this is what I see for my career. Like, is this possible to do here? Or like, how do we get it so that I can do this more or take on this new title, right? Or take on this new role?
It's all a long game. Getting
Yes.
into product management is all a long game. I feel like that's something we struggle with the most when it comes to mentoring PMs or aspiring PMs, is that it's not instant gratification.
Totally. And one thing actually that I would say before we wrap up is like, for new product people, like, we also have to realize that the product management position is possibly one of the most political in the company, right? And so, and I don't use political in like the sort of like shady aspect of it, right? It's like we have to build relationships with everyone, not just our boss. So that is so incredibly important, the communication aspect of like, how do other people see you, right? So, and that also can show like to your manager, like, oh yeah, no, he's ready for the product management position, or she's ready for this now, because other people, your peers, are going to sort of advocate for you.
Totally agree. Well, we have one more question, and it's a very important one for a VP of product. What product metric should we all stop pretending to care about?
I've never gotten any value out of NPS scores, honestly.
That's a good one. That's a good.
I was waiting for someone to
say that one. Me too.
I've seen so many conversations about this lately. I'm like, someone's gonna say it. Someone on the season 2 is gonna say it.
Never gotten any value out of it. I mean, I in an ideal world, it is actually a good indicator, but like, I've never gotten any value out of it.
They're kind of like dead, right? Like,
yeah,
people like even in the CS side have kind of stopped crediting them at this point.
Yep.
I'm glad you said that. It's so funny. I talked to a startup founder, totally off topic, but kind of on topic. I talked to a startup founder a couple of weeks ago. I told Santi after this meeting, and it was the worst conversation I've had with the startup founder in a long time. I literally got off the call and I was like, oh my God. And I talked to him, and one of the questions that he was kind of talking to me about, it was like, what metrics are important for CS? And I did not mention NPS scores. And he was like, well, I thought you would say NPS scores. And I was like, well, those aren't really valuable. And I think he was like shook that I did not say NPS scores. And I remember getting off the phone and like telling Santi, I was like, this is just like the weirdest conversation I've ever had. And like, I completely disconnected from having for future conversations with the startup founder. And I just think it's so funny that you said that, because it is a pointless metric.
Yeah.
It's a pointless metric.
Yeah. What does it give us? Like, I don't know. It's a vanity metric at best, right? I mean, how likely are you to recommend this to your best friend? Like, I don't know, 10, 1, doesn't matter.
And like, it's also like whatever one you click that day, like you're in a hurry to get rid of it. It pops up in your app and it's in your way. So you're going to click 3, you're going to click 5, you're going to click 7. It's in your way.
Yeah, exactly. And like any website that I'm on, especially when it pops up immediately, like it's like, well, now it was maybe a 9, now it's a 6, because it's just, now you're disrupting my workflow.
Yeah, there it does leave a lot of room for nuance, because like I have seen cases where someone did give it like a poor NPS and then like that prompted like an outreach and then they actually solved whatever it was. Like I've seen that happen.
I've seen that happen. Yes.
Right. But a friend of mine posed a really cool way of thinking about it. He's like, I'm not as interested in NPS. I'm more interested in posing it slightly differently. When was the last time you did recommend our product or something? Like actually be like, not just would you, but when did you? And I thought that was a really interesting twist on NPS. I was like, that could have some interesting insights.
Yeah. No,
absolutely.
I mean, one of the other questions that you could ask in one of these surveys is like, if this product went away, how upset would you be? Right?
I love that question.
That's, to me, it's like, I'd rather know that than like, how likely would you be to recommend this to your best friend? Like, at other companies that I've been a part of, like, I mean, in the healthcare space, you're not going to recommend a healthcare product to anybody.
Yeah. So true. But yeah, I love that. I'm glad that you said that one, because like we're asking everyone at the end of all of
it's
our.
It's a great question. It is. It's a really great question.
That was a good one. We're trying to see like what everyone says, and the best one that we've gotten up until now was velocity. So I'm glad that you shared NPS.
Yeah, velocity is also a good one though too.
We like sharing them with other people because we're always like kind of all marinating in them. Like, these are so crappy. We all like them together. Cool.
I mean, it's hard. Coming up with good metrics, it's a difficult job, right? And so, yeah, I mean, it also makes sense. Like we default to the metrics that have been given to us, but that's another thing, right? That AI can help with, right? Like, how should I be measuring this product? You just ask ChatGPT that. Like, give ChatGPT all the information that you have and just be like, how should I be measuring this product? Like, especially if it's an AI product, like you're an AI product, like how are you measured, right?
That's so funny. I never thought about that.
You're an AI product. How are you measured?
I never thought about that. That's so funny. Cool. Well, that's probably it for the episode. Anything else you guys want to cover?
I'm all good on my end. This was fabulous.
Yeah, this was fun.
Cool.
And honestly, Aaron, you are the first person I think of when it comes to AI. So just
appreciate that.
You're probably gonna get.
I love that actually. I love being like the
AI
token guy. AI product guy.
Yeah,
you have like a headline. You're in your headline, the AI product guy. That should be your new tagline.
I'm changing that right now. Right after we get off, right now, I'm going to change that.
We'll get you a hat.
You really should. You really should. That's beautiful. But yeah, thank you so much, Aaron. This was beyond amazing. And like I said, our listeners are going to absolutely love it.
Awesome,
I am so excited.
I love that. Yeah, this has been fun. Yeah, it's been great.
We wanted to thank everyone for listening to today's episode. It was so much fun getting to chat with Aaron and hear his insights. And on that note, Aaron is dropping a book early next year, so likely Q1 of 2026. It's all about breaking into products. So if you liked what he shared today, you'll want to keep an eye out for when that drops. So keep watching our pages for an announcement once it's live, and be sure to subscribe to his newsletter on LinkedIn, which is called Become an AI Product Manager. Thanks so much and have a great week.